I got started in SPARC because of they had all this stuff donated mostly by CKNW, but other CBC machines were here, and most non-operational. And so I said, I can get all of this running for you, and I thought that a really good display to have at SPARC would be an operating broadcast studio, so that we don't have heavy metal music blaring out of our 1930s radios. So that's what we run as our normal fare here on Sunday. These shelves here are full of tapes donated by mostly CKNW, although we've got recordings from a lot of different radio stations, old commercials from CJOR, and there is a whole section there of Jack Cullen's clips for his show called Milestones. This entire shelf here on the right is Dave McCormick's documentaries, and they were about 1970s. I would say Cullen's were 60s and around there. Probably brings you to a little diversion here. A license plate decoration that was CJOR's George Chandler, the guy that started that station. This was on his license plate. A couple other little things brought to us. There is the original sound effect from the commercial Chevron, your town pump, and the slide whistle from Bill Ray's old CKNW show, 1940s, Ranger's Cabin. But commercials and even CKNW broadcast their music when they were doing music from carts. They'd have 3 or 4 minute carts, and that would be an entire musical selection. And you could plug this in a big wall of these tape decks and automate your station. They did that too. This radio was for your car, and of course cars didn't normally come with radios. You had to buy one and have an antenna installed, and it sat on your seat. The speaker faced toward the front of the car, and you could look over and tune the dial up by this knob, and notice the numbers face me, because if you look over on the seat, this is the way up you want the dial to be. Here's a grandfather clock radio, and here's the radio part right here. And this is made by DeForest Crosley. There's your tuning, your volume and tone, and you could hide that and have a clock up on top. And an interesting thing about the clock is, if you can focus on the name of the clock, the brand of the clock they used in this radio was Hammond. And somebody said, well, is that the Transformer Company? And we say, no, it's the Hammond that invented the Hammond organ. And before he made Hammond organs, he made clocks. This is an actual Rogers radio, early 30s, and this is Ted Rogers Sr., not the cellular guy who we recently lost. But the father invented a tube that actually worked on your household AC current. And his invention, up till then, without it, radios had to have batteries. They're very expensive. And or if you had to recharge batteries. This actually ran off your house current. And there's what it looks like. So you see, they actually made the 3 tuning capacitors track. Here are the coils, mounted at a funny angle so they don't couple energy from coil to coil, otherwise it oscillates. And there's your pack here that produces the high voltages and all the voltages necessary to run the radio. This was called the Rogers Batteryless. And the station in Toronto called CFRB, that's where they got their call letters from. Rogers Batteryless. This is a brush sound mirror. Same year as the wire recorder, 1947. It's a bit odd because the reels go in opposite directions, because they used the same motor on both sides and they were just phonograph motors. The 1925 ad for one of these, the company was called Thompson, and they made radios. 1925, those radios cost between $125 and $360. Mind you, it's before the Depression, the crash, but still, huge amount of money. This is an old Edison cylinder recording, and spools look like this. The grooves are around it, and you slide it on this machine, and it's not working that well, but enough to give you a demonstration.
I'm old time of a return.